because my friends already kind of had like started the idea of the process. They ran an agency previously, and what they did is they just took out one piece of that agency, which was the link building part. And they kind of had like, they're like, okay, let's just sell it like this. Now, to get it from like the idea of like, let's just sell this as a product to like what it actually became selling it as a product is totally different, right? Because once you can sell a product with a couple people, but once you're like start selling enough, your system's got to get way better. You actually got to build like a really scalable system.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Productize My Service podcast. Today, I am joined with a special guest, Clayton Johnson, who is really one of the original founders and currently the CMO at thehoth.com. What the Hoth is essentially a productized SEO, content, and PPC business that's grown quite a bit since I first had the pleasure of meeting Clayton. We crossed paths, I want to say 7 years ago in Medellin, Colombia, of all places, through some mutual friends, and really have just been friends ever since. Originally when we met, the Hoth was doing about $100,000 a month in MRR, and today they're doing over 2 to 2.5 million a month, plus or minus depending on the month. So quite a growth trajectory since we first met, and Clayton was kind enough to come on and just drop some knowledge around SEO, building the Hoth, how to think about productized services, how he's thinking about growing the Hoth, next kind of evolutions and phases of that business. So we go through some really, really cool ideas, and really excited to kind of just, give you an insight into how Clayton thinks about running a service business. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. All right, welcome to another episode of Productized Snacks. Today, I am joined by Clayton Johnson of the Hoth. Welcome, man.
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm excited to have you on, man. We have an interesting backstory, and I know we'll be talking a lot about the Hoth as well, maybe some other things that you're up to, but I think me and obviously other close friends kind of watched you build this from, small beginnings to now, fairly successful, very successful.
Thank you.
Productized service. So excited to dive in there, man. Well, I mean, there's a lot of questions, and I know a lot of stuff we can venture down, but I like to start off with this question. What type of business problems are you paid to solve?
Wow, that's it's a far-reaching question, I suppose. In terms of the company, the business problems that we're paid to solve is we help people with SEO at the Hoth, but now we've expanded a little bit farther and started with paid advertising. So we help with internet marketing problems. But personally, in terms of building this business, I just see myself as a problem solver, period. It doesn't really matter what problem there is. So I started in operations. So I essentially made sure that things ran smoothly and set up systems and processes to make sure that we could productize the service and make sure that when customer comes in, they get something consistent on the end. So that's what I solved. And then over time, I've solved many other problems, like how do you take that same process and scale it up? How do you create hiring systems? And then how do you create marketing systems to actually drive more customers in and make the whole company grow? So I would say that I don't really see myself as one particular thing, or even our company as one particular thing. I think just as an entrepreneur, you got to be a problem solver no matter what's thrown at you. So I've kind of gone through all those different categories the last handful of years. So
yeah, I think problem solver, or some might say firefighter, there's probably
man, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. And like, you definitely, like, the whole idea of building a productized service is that you don't have to be a firefighter. Like a non-productized service, like a regular agency, that is a recipe for fighting fires, but you fight the fires with really highly paid people and having a ton of money. A productized service gets the maximum, product to a customer. And if you build it right, then you don't have to fight the fires. It's like the whole idea behind it.
No, that's a very good point, man. Limiting the amount of fires you're fighting, or hopefully none. Um,
Well, I mean, to
that's
be honest, I mean, everyone's always going to have problems. They just want better problems, right?
yeah.
So the fires that you want to be fighting is like, dang, our sales team has too many calls booked, so we need to hire more people. How can I find another high quality salesperson, to join our account management team? You're always going to have problems. You just want better ones.
Nice. No, 100%. What about, I mean, tell me a little bit about, we don't have to go too much into history about the Hoth. I just think
Yep.
it's interesting, like, because you were one of the original founders originally. Maybe just give a brief backstory, like kind of the evolution of, yeah, the business and the Hoth in general.
Yeah, sure. So my friends actually really started it back in Chicago in 2010. They invited me on very early, and we just had the great fortune of in 2010 getting a little bit lucky with a little bit of ambition, launching a one product service. It was a link building service on just on a forum, like a buy sell forum, like an internet marketing forum,
Wow.
and it was good enough. No website, no anything, just a post and a PayPal link. I think maybe there's a YouTube video in there, and it took off enough to be substantial. And then over the next few years, I came on and we helped develop it. We, made it, the process is really good, and grew it to the point where it was doing probably like $60,000 to $80,000 a month, which is pretty good. It's a pretty successful business, got about up to $1 million a year run rate. And then we sold the business to another company called NextNet. So I went through the acquisition process, so I know what it's like on that side. And then the other two founders left, and I came on board on the new parent company. And then around 2014, is probably about a year after that, we sold it. We met, and then yeah, you were like, let's go back to Medellin, and I was like, that sounds good because Chicago is terrible in the winter. And through with you and Tommy and just that experience of like going abroad, I think our interests like aligned, and I think we're all fans of the 4-hour work week and have that internet money dream. And this was the time to take it to the next level. So personally, I went through like a huge transformation. I think it was really sparked by that trip, man, and you guys and your positivity, and just went through like a huge change and realized, we need to blow this thing up and stop being weak, So from then on, we went and proceeded to turn our one product service, or I think it was maybe two at the time, and just rapidly start launching more products to the same customer base. And that coupled with, aggressive marketing, like setting up marketing systems, just the same way we set up systems for production. Over the next few years, we took that from $100,000 a month to $500,000 a month, then to $1 million a month, and then to $2 million a month. And that's kind of where we're at now, without trying to tell the story for the next 500 years.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to unpack there. Yeah, because I remember when we were living together in Medellin, I think you just said we're about to eclipse or had eclipsed that 100K MRR mark.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, going from 100K to 2 million, pretty big jump. So there's probably a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
With different things, which we can kind of dive into.
Yep.
One question I had though, because obviously building it up to 60 to 80K, two products, like originally, did you have like this idea behind like, I'm going to productize this business? Because I mean, then it wasn't until recently that term was even like kind of hot, or just like the thing, in some aspect. It's still kind of becoming, up and coming. But what made you guys, or how did you approach building that business, and like was productizing like top of mind?
Yeah. So, I mean, for this, to be honest, I really got to give credit to my friends, because my friends already kind of had like started the idea of the process. They ran an agency previously, and what they did is they just took out one piece of that agency, which was the link building part. And they kind of had like, they're like, okay, let's just sell it like this. Now, to get it from like the idea of like, let's just sell this as a product, to like what it actually became selling it as a product, is totally different, right? Because once you can sell a product with a couple people, But once you're like, start selling enough, your system's got to get way better. You actually got to build like a really scalable system.
Yeah.
And I came from like previously before this, I was printing t-shirts. I was working in a t-shirt printing shop and I was doing some web stuff, but I got to see how a business like that, I got to see how important systems are in a business. In that business, I would see like every day that little things were on fire and things got missed and stuff like that. And I was always wondered like why is it like that? And I read the book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and he really starts talking about systems in that book. And I was like, oh, I get it. Systems are really important. And so when we started building Hoth, I'd lived an example of a really painful like way when things are on fire all the time. I saw that. So I saw how painful that is.
Yep.
But so then I was like, let's not do that. And so I was really, really intent on taking like this beginning of an idea and making it to a real system. And, that started as simply as literally a Google Doc, and you can actually do a lot on Google Docs. So we did it on Google Docs and we hired a developer, and then the developer built out like an even better version of that system. And it kind of went from there. But we've always carried that from the beginning, is that you have to have systems in your business. And it goes a lot farther than just the products too. So
what's kind of your biggest, when service businesses or current productized service businesses are looking to build these kind of systems out, because I think you have a lot of strengths, but obviously the ops side is probably a little superpower of yours. What kind of things should people be thinking about, or how should they start? You mentioned Google Docs and building on top of that. How would you kind of start if you were starting over?
Well, there's so much to say, but I've talked to a lot of agencies that they've built up like a successful business, or a lot of businesses, service-based businesses that have built up like a relatively successful business, but they're having trouble like figuring out how to like really take it to the next level. And a lot of times what I see in this is we have a single, like a founder or an owner that is doing the majority of sales. And as long as that continues, that is going to be a linchpin that's going to hurt a lot of people. It's just because I see this as a pattern, right? Now, when you start, I think as the owner, doing the sales is amazing. I think you should do the sales. I think you should be talking to the customers and all that kind of stuff. But at a certain point, it actually is going to hurt you. And I'll tell you why. Because as most owners, what I see is like they have an idea of what service they have, but they end up like, everything depends on them. So if the lead comes in, they're going to have to talk to that lead, right? So the business can't keep going without them. And they will talk to every person, and they'll make a custom deal because they care about their customers so much, and they want their business. They'll end up making custom deals, which means that pricing is never the same. It's always different for everybody. And then also on the same time, the production team, when you go to produce the stuff, nobody knows what the salesperson promised, right? So the production, and they also need the owner to go in there and tell the production team, actually, you got to tweak it like this, you got to change it like this, and it makes everybody's life hell. So one of the biggest things I think is the offer, right? That is kind of a really great place. If you don't know where to start, let's start by taking whatever we're selling right now, and let's tone it down to like really create an offer and like pricing tiers. And what do you get for what price? And what are we willing to be flexible on? What are we not? Because like for us, if you're doing productized services, we're not selling physical objects where it's exactly the same every time. It's mostly the same every time, but it's almost always customized to some extent, right? Whether you're selling a social media product or a blog post, it's like, you're going to get a blog post of 500 words, but we're customizing it for your business, right?
Yeah.
So if people can start by defining the product and what you get for each price level, that makes it a million times better, because now you can tell the customer what their options are. And then you can also, on the back end, after they buy it, exactly what to produce, right? So after you've done that, you've figured out exactly what the product is, then that means that you as a business owner, you don't have to be the one to sell it. You can now get someone that's on your team that's 24/7, or, well, I guess 40 hours a week or whatever. You don't want it to be. If you're a business owner, you're 24/7, but you can hire a person at a reasonable rate for a reasonable amount of hours per week. And that person can just be full-time dedicated to handling those leads and selling the predefined products that you have. So that is a huge inflection point that I think is going to help a ton of people take off. If you can just take whatever you're selling and make it into like packages that say what you get and what you don't get for whatever price range. And then that allows you to get a salesperson, like one salesperson, that's a game changer. So both those two things are massive game changers. That's going to be able to take you to the next level for sure.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. It's funny. I was talking to a friend earlier before we hopped on, and he's a consultant and he's trying to productize his stuff. And he's like his own enemy because he's like almost creating his own scope creep, because he keeps changing his pricing and packages and what he's going to do. And it's a good point, because I think those are two great sales and just clearly defined packages. Because otherwise, if you don't have that covered from the first domino, everything else is not gonna flow very smoothly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so powerful to literally just get a price for something and then get a salesperson to sell it. It just unlocks all sorts of, it unlocks almost everything else.
Man, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, if we look at the Hoth nowadays, because obviously you alluded, you guys, $2 million a month, is that kind of the range where you guys are still at right now, revenue wise? What does that look like as of today? We're July 20th.
Yeah, for sure. The coronavirus definitely kicked us in the nuts, but it kicked everybody in the nuts. So, we hovered between probably 1.5, and last month we had a best month ever. So that was like 2.2 or 2.3, something like that. So we're in that range. If we wouldn't have coronavirus, I think we'd be consistently over 2. But yeah, that's pretty much the range that we're at. So still very happy with the growth. I mean, we went from 100K to 2 million in 5 years, something like that. So 20x, it's pretty good.
20x, not bad. Yeah.
But also 20x when you start at 100 grand is a lot different than 20x when you start at $1, It's like, dude, let me like triple your business. If you're doing $5,000 a month, we're going to get you up to 15,000. It's like, I mean, that's, you can triple it then, but once you, like, the bigger you grow, the harder it is to get those crazy growth numbers,
What's the threshold, do you think? Yeah. Cause 5 to 10, I work with a lot of people that going from, like, once they get a little traction, between 3 and 5K going up to 15, 20, you can make some big jumps. Like, where do you stop seeing like those huge jumps in revenue, do you think? Where's that breaking point?
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a universal, I don't know if there's a universal thing, but I will say, just from like, this is just my anecdotal experience, I see like a lot of agency styles that really could be agency style businesses that could be productized services. A lot of times they top out around 20 to 30 grand a month, maybe 40 grand a month, before they're kind of like, I don't know how to break past this. But yeah, the 20 to 30 grand a month, if you're doing an agency and you haven't like productized it, or you've but kind of productized it, but you really haven't got where you need to be, that's where I see a lot of people stalling out. Would you agree?
No, that makes, no, I think so. I know, I personally know a lot of people that have just are hovering around that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, the core, well, not productizing is one side, but even people who have productized, I think there's also like these sticking points, and it could be like they reach a point, they're doing all the sales and they can't get out of the way or something, it's they're almost slowing themselves down in many cases. So interesting. Now, I mean, 80K a month MRR, 2 products, 2 million a month. How many products do you have? So you guys got quite a few.
Yeah, we got a bunch of products now. So we kind of like, I mean, this is one of the great things about building a business, and I hope that people can take from this, is like, we started out as a one product service. It was called the Hoth, and the product was called the Hoth. But I think people that are starting out, they should think bigger. Don't think about it as just like your service. Think about the avatar. Think about the market. Because what's going to happen is, like, optimally, what you will do eventually is you will start out with one core product, and then you will see what the market is asking for, right? And then optimally, I mean, you could just create a new product and sell it to the same audience that you have. So this whole time, let's say you're doing your marketing, you're getting your email list going, you got a list of 5,000 people, and they're a certain type, they're interested in this one thing that you sell. Well, they're probably also interested in this side step over here and this side step over here. So if you think about growing your business like that, I mean, you can sell more things to the same audience that help out with other things that they have. So over the last handful of years, we've created like between 15 and 20 products. I'm not sure how many we have now. So we've launched a bunch of products, and some of them have been way more successful than others, some of them not so much. But that has been a seriously great way to grow your business. I think people should think about it like that. I think people should think about the avatar and then think about, let's get a core service going, let's build it up, make it a really great product, and then also think about what other things that can we add to it that we can sell to the same customer base.
Yeah, the easiest people to sell to are people who have already bought from you.
Exactly. I mean, they're just sitting there. They have problems, ask them what other problems you can solve for them. And then you pay for the lead one time and then you can sell to them forever. That's the beauty of growing like one business. I mean, I love it. It's great. It works awesome.
Yeah. At what point do you start introducing other products? Because I think there's obviously a stage where you want to just focus on one product before you start introducing others. I think Lead Pages, I mean, they really stuck with one until they hit like 1 million or something.
Yeah.
I think there's a good book. I think we both have read Ready, Fire, Aim.
Yeah.
And he, I think, has some philosophies from there as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, to be honest, I don't have any really strong opinions on it. I think it's important. Like if you're a first-time entrepreneur and you're doing this, I think it's super important to get your systems down and like get basic things, happening in your business before you start, branching out to other things. Because if you want to build it all like a productized service, it requires an enormous amount of patience, period. I mean, if you want to run an agency, just a regular agency,
yes to everything.
Say yes to everything. I mean, that's easy, lazy way to do it, but you're going to have to put out a lot of fires and you're going to have to be involved. Building a productized service, I mean, it takes a lot of patience. So I think that what was really valuable is like, we actually spent like the first 2-3 years, building out our first product. And and by doing that, just by default, we focused on a lot of the other base elements that allowed us to be able to add more products. To give you an example, just even building the website, you get the whole website built and you're writing all these blog posts and you start getting your SEO going, and then if you want to add another product, you don't have to create a whole new website. You just put another page on the website that says, hey, here's our new product. But we had the website built. We built like a login backend where people could come and order stuff. And so that was great. So in order to add another product, that was just, add another product to that already like system that existed with the login and blah, blah, blah. We had already had a salesperson. We had our first sales guy. That was a huge pivotal move in our business. And to teach him how to sell another product, that was easy. So a lot of the base elements, we got that really going with our one product business. And to be honest, we didn't even have really the vision to add that many more products. At least it wasn't, super clear to us. But building that really solid business foundation with your first product and getting it like sustainable and a successful business in its own, I think that's probably the inflection point where I'd go, okay, we have the elements that we need, and now we see a big opportunity. What's the next biggest opportunity? Okay, it is actually adding in a new product and not like building the base systems for our business,
Yeah, I think it probably is different for everyone. I think from what you said, though, it's stay focused at least for X amount of time and get a good foundation under your first product. Because I think you can definitely probably try to add too many too soon. And then once you have a good foundation, maybe that's faster for some people than others. Then you can start adding other products. So I like that.
Yeah, man, like focusing on that system and systems and like just watching it. And when it messes up, like figure out what you messed up and then go fix it. And then keep watching them, just like obsessively until, it's coming out on the other end, like with really, really good consistency, And until you build that skill set of being able to understand, how to build those systems and watching for it and have the diligence and the patience to do that, you should just keep working on that first product. And then once you have that skill set and you're really good to go, then let's do it again,
Yeah, I like that. I don't think I've ever talked to you about this, but like, what's your process for building out these systems?
Yeah.
Are you like drawing these on napkins, paper? Are you mind mapping online? Like, how do you think about like taking the system in your head and like creating that, whatever that looks like? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed over the years. And when you're starting, you only got a couple people to deal with, so you can be a little more lax, right?
Yeah.
Um, as it grows, the system becomes massively more complex because there's so many more people that have to touch it. Now we have 45 people working in this office. So if I want to launch a product today, there's 7 zillion meetings that have to happen in order for it to, to go live. I got to meet with like the director of product, and I got to pitch, and they got to be, convinced of this idea. And then we got to loop in the developers, to make sure that they're cool with it and they can schedule it out in their time. And then I got to tell the sales team, but not too much, because they'll start selling it, and then you got to tell the support team, because they can't be having questions come in about a product that they don't know anything about. And so you got to have like all these meetings and stuff. So let me bring it back to the beginning of where probably most people are if they're in that $5,000 to $100,000 a month range. I'll tell you, it's no magic trick. I think of everything as kind of like an assembly line, right? So first we got to figure out what the product is. What's the pitch? What's the offer? What's the general pricing? And, I go look at competitors, see what's in the market, see where we want to fit into that market, see what's missing in that market. Sometimes I'll talk, if you're really in the industry that you're working in, what the problems are, but it's also very helpful to just go talk to a bunch of people, do surveys, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And really hone in on what you want to offer. So I'll just really start a doc, and just start like a Google Doc and be like, all right, here's what I'm thinking for the offer. Here's the general outline. Here's the packages that I think, here's what you get. And then once I kind of have that general idea, I'm like, all right, let's figure out what the process would look like in order to produce that. What inputs are we going to need? So like what do I need from the customer first? All right, cool. We got that. And then what are the steps that it needs to go through, and like who's going to do the steps? Like let's say if you're writing a blog post. So, we have a product called Hot Blogger. Customers come in, they tell us a little bit of information. They tell us about what their website is. They tell us about who their target avatar is. They talk about if they have topics that they want us to write about, they can tell us those. If it's geo-targeted, a handful of different things. And then we will go and have like a little flow chart of, comes in here, inputs. All right, next it goes to the topic creator. The topic creator goes and they look at all the stuff they gave us, and they go out and they research some stuff and they pitch it to the client. And the client says yes or no. And if they say yes, it goes on to the next step. And the next step is a writer needs to pick it up. The writer picks it up and they write it, and then they go and they send it in. And then the quality control goes and they look at it. And then after it passes quality control, then it'll go to the client for approval, right? And there's all yes or no's in that whole step. So I kind of just map it all out. And then once it's mapped out, I'll start figuring out what does the training need to look like for each one of those roles. So if we're going to write a blog post, what are the requirements that we want? So I'll write out the training of what I expect. And then once we kind of have all that going, what I'll do is I'll just start testing it out. I'll put my own stuff through it. I'll say like, okay, here's the inputs as if I were the customer, for a few different things. And I'll have other people actually go and follow the trainings, like follow the writing training, and go and do it and see what comes out on the other end. And when it comes out on the other end, it's not what you wanted. So what you do is you go back and you fix the training, you fix the steps, and you do this all on Google Docs before you hire a developer, so that when you realize that you messed it up, you don't have to pay another $10,000 to go fix that step. You can just put another column in there or whatever. So the process like that, is extremely, rough or loose to begin with. Starting out, getting the idea of the product, the pitch, the packages, the process, the systems, the trainings, start putting tests through. And that's the way it really starts. It sounds simple, and it is. So, yeah.
Nice. I like it. So essentially you start mainly Google Docs, build it out, make sure it's good, refined, etc.
Yep.
And then you guys have obviously built out a lot of like custom software on the back end to kind of process all these, or all the workflows essentially, right? But someone who doesn't, I mean, there's off the shelf software nowadays that can kind of do that to an extent. I'm sure as you get bigger, you could build something out.
Yeah, man. I really think that people should keep it as simple as possible, because, dude, you can do. We were probably doing $20,000-$30,000 a month, like to the customer, they, everything was on their, our website looked nice. And like we would send you the email with the file from our branded domain and everything. And from the customer side, it looked pretty cool. On the back end, dude, it was run by a bunch of Google Sheets and Dropbox and all that kind of stuff up until like $20,000 or $30,000, so there wasn't anything back then. So we paid a developer to go develop it. But now there's a couple softwares out there. I think, what's it called? The mini pixels thing.
Many requests.
Mini requests. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mini requests. That looked pretty cool. I've been seeing that. SPP is a software as well. But yeah, there's some cool softwares for service-based businesses that make it a zillion times easier than when we started. So.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely easier now than ever.
Yeah. Man, to be honest, when I play with that type of software, I'm just like, dude, I just want to start like another company and just sell some, because it looks so easy now, like we got to be like, right? Should we hire a developer? We don't know anything about hiring a developer. Oh, great. And then 5 years later, we're going to get half of what you can get now for like $47.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. Yeah. The costs have come down, or now there's just shared resources and templates and, to build stuff out. Someone sent me an app yesterday and it was like, they built the whole app with a no code software. Like,
that's amazing.
And I was just like, this is pretty awesome. And the guy just put it together by piecing together a few no code things. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So no one has any excuse now.
Dude, exactly, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no excuses, man. It's easy. It's the easiest time ever to start a business, straight up. Plus, you're not doing anything. You're sitting at your home in coronavirus, so.
Exactly, right? Like, now's the time to do something if you're thinking about it. How do you think about pricing, margins, and kind of positioning in the market? I know these are kind of broad, but like pricing, I guess, is one aspect, but margins is one I'm really curious about, like, especially for a productized service. Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas around like these kind of things and maybe where you think people should play in the market.
Again, on this, I mean, it's so diverse. I don't really have any strong opinions. I mean, for us, I don't see a lot of advantages for us being the cheapest in the market, nor do I. We haven't positioned ourselves as the most expensive, although people might think we're expensive. There's a lot more expensive ways you can go.
Yeah.
We've kind of found our niche kind of in this middle ground where we'll get customers that are not the cheap. I don't really want the people that are looking for the cheapest, really. But also we don't really fit for the people that are looking for the most expensive stuff either, because those people are looking for like a really hardcore custom solution. So we found a sweet spot somewhere in the middle where people have enough money they're willing to pay for like pretty legitimate marketing services, but then we're able to provide pretty legitimate marketing services in that price range. And so that's how I see our pricing. And I also base it on like, in terms of like real world tests, like what is it going to take to get, like, let's say in the blog example, like what is it going to take to get a quality writer, for this type of thing that we're offering here.
Yep.
So it's just dependent on the market for that, and also who I'm selling to. So we found a sweet spot in the middle. In terms of margins, essentially we like to have about 50% margins on the things that we produce. And some people like that a little bit higher. Some people are willing to go a little bit less. 50% is a good number. I think it's important for businesses to build in a healthy margin.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to, it's not all going in your pocket, man. You got to build it. You got to build in a healthy margin so that you have a healthy business, 100%. Because you're going to have ebbs and flows, and you don't want to have to lay off your entire staff every time, like you have a down month or something like that. You need to be able to take care of your people. And so you need to be able to have enough margin to be able to do that. And you also have to have enough margin to do this thing that many people forget called marketing. You're going to have to cough it up to pay for marketing. And a lot of people have this like really weird idea. They're like, we built this business without spending a dime in marketing. Like it's a cool thing to be proud of, which I'm aggressively against. I think it's idiotic.
Yeah.
To not spend, to hold this as like a high standard that you didn't spend any money on marketing. It's just that the award is a small business. So you got to have enough margin to be able to pay for marketing and all those things as a business grows. So that's how I think about that.
No, it makes a ton of sense. I would argue it's even that type of business is probably less valuable because if like we were going to potentially buy a business, it's just like, oh, we don't do any marketing. All the customers, just through whatever forms, it's just like, that's actually like a more fragile business. There's no scalability to it.
Yeah.
Like they don't have any growth engines in place.
Now, I will say that in an optimal world, like, yeah, man, you have an amazing product. And that's what I hope that everyone does. I actually, I just shit on those people that say that. But to be honest, if you have such a good product that you don't need marketing, like that is like really the ultimate. And I think everybody should strive to have that. But for most people, I think it's pretty unrealistic. Like no one is going to be so impressed by your productized service because they've never heard of it before. It's going to be so amazing that they're just going to tell everyone. It's going to be so rare, especially if you're a young entrepreneur. Not to say that you couldn't do it, definitely could, but I'm just saying, like, you're probably gonna have to pay for marketing. It's not a bad thing either.
Oh, I'd like to get into that a little. I think I'm curious. I mean, this is going way back, obviously, but one of the questions I like to ask, and maybe you can give me how the Hoth did it / also how you would approach or giving advice to someone. Like, how did you get that first $1,000 or those first 10 customers? Kind of question, and if you can remember how the Hoth did it, then as well, like what would you tell someone advice-wise on getting that first 1,000 or 10 customers?
Yeah, man, it's kind of interesting because to be honest, we were just very lucky. Like I said, we started on a forum, and there's a lot of people on the forum, and the forum kind of took off, and it actually created a substantial business just by this one thing,
Yeah.
And what that really means is that we found ourselves in a specific time where we got a really great product market fit. You know what I mean? Like we just got so lucky. I mean, I would like to think that we're geniuses. I don't think that's actually the case. I think we got pretty lucky somewhere. We're not too stupid, but we got really lucky with product market fit. And if you get product market fit right, then you can slam pretty good for a little while without doing too much. And I think that's the case there. We got really good product market fit in the beginning. And then over the next like handful of years, we were just kind of like did random things, like trying conferences or trying to buy an email blast or something, kind of one-offs. But eventually it kind of, plateaued there. What I've seen a lot of other businesses do when they start is that in the beginning, it's the owner, just straight hustle culture, like let's just go out and spam everybody, let's just send a million LinkedIn messages. Let's email people, it's kind of hustle culture. It's pretty much like what most small businesses do. Let's go on every podcast in the world. Let's start our own podcast and, invite every single guest that we could possibly do just to try it. And I think that's a decent way to get it going. Eventually, that hustle culture, you'll burn out, or you won't be able to get to that next level. So that's at least what I see.
It's hard to scale the hustle culture.
Yeah.
I think, right? I think that's a big part of it.
Well, I mean, you could probably scale it, but you're not going to scale it up to millions a month, I don't think.
Yeah. So I guess from you guys getting that kind of momentum, because I know you guys have done a variety of things that actually scale from the marketing side.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Let's jam on that a little. What did that look like as far as the stages? Because I know you've done Facebook and some other things and conferences, and maybe talk a little bit about the evolution of some of the marketing at the Hoth and some of the stuff you guys did that worked.
Yeah, man. So this is the stuff that I love, man. This has been my lifeblood for like the last 5 years. So like the first half of the Hoth's been around for 10 years. For the first 5 years of it was pretty much me doing operations. And the second 5 years of it was me doing pretty much marketing and product development.
Yeah.
So the way I thought about it is like, if you're a really good product if you're really good at ops, right, and creating those systems that allow you to scale products, well, what you need to do is take that same mentality and apply that to marketing, right? Because you need, just as you need a scalable system to produce the products, you need a scalable system to bring in leads and develop a relationship with those leads and sell them your products and all that kind of jazz. So started thinking about how would you be able to do that? And, so we started developing systems for that. And, if you kind of just think about it, you're like, all right, so we got all this traffic out there. How are we going to get traffic? Okay, well, you get traffic from SEO, you get traffic from social media, you get traffic from wherever, right? And you need them to all go to one place, which is the email list, which is still like that's the number one, man. Just start working on your email list. You need to build a big email list. And then once they get on the email list, you do an autoresponder, right? Where you just answer their top questions. And see, everyone's getting that automatically. And then after that, you hit them off with promotions and you kind of got like a little system going. And then once you kind of have that system going and it's working, then you just got to scale up the traffic, and that traffic can come. You can start paying for Facebook ads. You can start paying for Google ads. You can start paying for SEO to get more SEO. So you just start scaling up the traffic sources. And as you do that, you're always just pushing people to that email list, and you have that series of emails that's going out. That's, developing that relationship. You're sending them whatever you want, videos, freaking new articles, all that kind of jazz. And I mean, it's pretty powerful once you have it set up. There's a lot of things that you can tack onto that, and you get real complicated about it too. But that's kind of the way. I did want to mention one thing that you put me onto way back in the day, which is Calendly. Calendly, I'm pretty sure you told me about it.
May have, yeah.
Yeah, Calendly, man. I was always looking for like one of those booking platforms, but they all looked like total garbage. They all looked like 1980s design. Yeah. And then Calendly came through for the win, man. And they made this like minimalistic, beautiful calendar booking thing. So we started using that. And man, I tell you what, like if you just have your whole marketing set up and you got your email sequence, and people go into that email sequence and you give them an opportunity to book a call with you on all the emails, man, people just start booking calls. And I'll tell you what, we got like salespeople here that you can be a pretty lazy salesperson. You can put your feet up on your desk, you can have your little coffee, and just wake up in the morning and see all the sales calls booked for you through Calendly. People just pre-booking calls with you, show up ready to just crush it down, man. So
yeah, man.
I don't know. There's a lot more. This is stuff that you could talk about all day, because like we scaled Facebook. We started using Facebook ads and we scaled that up. We're just about ready to crack spending $100,000 a month on Facebook ads, so that's big. We spend a ton of money on Google ads. That's awesome. We spend a ton of money on like SEO content. Scaled all this up, and yeah, it can get pretty deep. But to be honest, like those core elements, you don't have to be a wizard. Just go and get the basic core elements set up, and that's going to take people really far. To be honest, I mean, we've largely done a lot of the same things like the last 5 years, and been able to take it, from where it was before to where it is now. So
I like that. Well, I think notes I took here is obviously kind of setting up your funnel, right? Like lead magnet, email list, building that with an autoresponder.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I think a lot of productized services don't have those things.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like up here, I think that people listening to me might be like, yeah, that's what everybody says, man. Like I'm like, yeah, but do you have an email list right now? No. Okay, well, start an email list. Yeah, like a lot of smart people, they tend to massively overcomplicate things, and they're unwilling to do the basics. You know what I mean? Or they have analysis paralysis. They've read so much. I remember the first time, man, that I ever tried to launch my first product, and I had there was a guitar course online, and I remember I got to this place where it was all ready to go, and I was ready to launch it, and then I was like, got to this place, and I just felt this paralysis where I was like, dude, wait, if I launch it, shouldn't I like be split testing it. But what about the video? Should the sales video be like right here, and then the button drops down like 20 minutes in? Or if I'm doing this, should I like run Facebook traffic? Or Facebook traffic, they're just browsing. They're not like direct buyers. Should I run Google traffic? Oh, but that's expensive. Wait, shouldn't I be retargeting people? Should I set up a second funnel where like we have abandonment? And should I send a trigger-based emails to, too much, you've never done anything before. It's going to paralyze you. So just do the basic stuff, and make it, and just take it down. Put a stupid pop-up that says, please join my email list. I beg you, please, or something. Just put a pop-up on your website that says that. And then write a stupid email sequence that says, hey, this is email 1 through 5. Do that. And then make an offer, like these basic things most people don't do. So just do those things and you'll be pretty good.
I love it, man. I think there's so many people because maybe they're in that 5K, 10, 20, 30K a month range. And let's say they're essentially hustle culture, right? There may be a lot of LinkedIn, cold email.
Yeah.
They set up a lead magnet, build up an email list with an autoresponder. They do that. Like, where's the gap between or what are kind of some steps in your mind from going to trying some of these more scalable outlets, like whether it's Google ads, Facebook ads, some of these, those types of things? How do you look at that and that transition? Or do you just keep doing hustle culture, or do you stop and transition, start to do more Facebook ads? Like, how do you think about that, or what would your advice be?
Yeah, man. Well, to be honest, I think people can do some amazing things on hustle culture. I mean, I hate on it, but people do. I mean, people can do pretty successful businesses by doing it. And I only hate on it that much because I don't like spam. I don't answer anybody's emails. I get spammed every day. And, I just never did it. So yeah. And plus our whole company's about SEO, right? And SEO is like anti hustle culture. Well, it's not anti, but SEO is all about let's write value-driven articles and they'll rank on Google, and then people will find us when they're searching for the information. So they're coming to you as opposed to you going to them. It's like inbound marketing, right? We're inbound. We're getting these inbound leads as opposed to going outbound, right?
Exactly.
And so that, that works really well for introverts like me, So what I think is probably for most people, if you're hustling and it is working for you, what I would do is take 50% of the hustle that you do and keep doing it because it's working, because it's going to keep working for today. But then take another 50% of your time and start doing more systemized type things. Or other alternative option is hire somebody that knows how to do these things and have them do it, right? So I'm talking about things like let's get an email list set up. Let's get some captures on our website. So if people want more information, they could get more free value from us. Writing blog posts that are going to answer the questions that our customers ask you every single day on the phone call, because they're going to ask you the same questions every day. Building out resources, building out webinars. Like what is your sales process? Or what are the questions that you answer every time on the phone? Just make a presentation out of it. You know what I'm saying? So spend 50% of your time building up assets. And I actually wrote a post about this. I think of these assets as little marketing soldiers. All right. If you search the Hoth marketing soldiers, you can hear my take on it.
Yeah.
But the idea is that whereas as a salesperson, you're going out every single time. It's one-to-one. You have to do it every single time. You have to say the same things over and over and over and over and over, right? You got to hit up a new person, get them on a phone call, give them the same pitch, right? What you want to do is you want to start, instead of doing that every time, you want to start kind of documenting or creating an asset that can live on your website. Every question that you get from a customer, create a blog post that explains it, or a video or whatever you're best at, right? And then you'll have an asset. And what's going to happen is if your customers are asking for it, then this is going to be great social media content. You're going to put it out on social media. It's going to be great content to email out. So it becomes your email strategy. If you optimize it for the right keywords, your target customers are going to find it. So it becomes your SEO strategy. So it's all about creating these content pieces that are your marketing soldiers. And the cool thing is once they're up on your website and they're living there, they're just going to go and fight for you every single day, 24/7 for free, because you created it. They're going to keep ranking. You keep posting the same thing on social media. You keep posting, you can keep emailing it out to your list and your autoresponder. As a new person joins, every new person gets that thing. So they just keep working for you forever, So
Love that.
So take 50% of your time and start building up those assets.
I love it, man. And I want to be cautious of your time. Are we good, by the
Yeah,
way,
man, for
for a
sure.
little bit?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry that we had a little disaster before it started.
Yeah,
Like
before the
we
call
had like
happened, there was an
30
accident.
minutes of 30 minutes of you and I jamming, getting into it, talking about stuff, and then I dumped a whole San Pellegrino on my computer, and no went anywhere. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you got too
great,
excited, man.
dude. This is exciting stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad we're still flowing. So,
yeah, still flowing.
what is curious right now with the Hoth? What is kind of the biggest problem that you're facing growing the business that you would easily pay someone to help you solve right now?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I don't know. I had to think about that for a second.
Okay.
Let's see. Dude, to be honest, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for it.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
that's fine. You
I
circle
will.
back if it comes to you.
Yeah, I will say that I'm always like checking out new services, right? There's always this idea of like we are a marketing company. We sell marketing services, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that we do that we don't sell. Like we don't
Yeah.
sell email autoresponders, at least not yet. So as I scale the team and I'm working on lots of projects, I'm always looking for ways that we can be really efficient in whatever processes there are. So this is not the biggest problem, but if there's somebody listening to this they're starting the productized service and they're like, oh, maybe we could sell it to a business like the Hoth. Hell yeah. Like that's, I look for stuff like that all the time because am I going to hire somebody to do that? Or am I going to find a service that takes care of it for me? So it's not necessarily the biggest problem, but there's a huge opportunity. I'm always looking for, hey man, does it make sense to like just get a service to do this, or does it make sense to hire someone? So that's definitely a consideration.
Nice. That's cool. So
Yeah.
you're also you're considering, I know you guys have been kind of doing this a little bit, but from an acquisition side,
Yep.
just maybe buying services. That's very cool, man. Well, I'll keep sending you over cool productized services and
Yeah.
spark some ideas.
Yeah. I like it, man.
Let's just say, I don't know what the multiplication number is on this question, but I'd love to get your thoughts. Like, let's just say the Hoth tripled overnight. You wake up tomorrow, instead of 2, you're at 6 million.
Yeah.
Like, what breaks, if anything, or, and how do you fix it? Or at what level does something start to break from where you're at right now?
It's a good question, man. To be honest, it's hard to say. I think because it's just so we have like 15 products, and they all have incredibly like some of them have inventory, some of them need. I think the thing that has to be fixed is it's all the problems are people. Because like in a productized service business, you're not SaaS. You know what I mean? SaaS can scale up, and actually productized services is a little bit more difficult, because you got to have more people. I think that's probably the biggest thing, dude. Like, okay, but look, there's a big difference between going from like 20,000 to 40,000 and having to hire a couple more people, because our sales can fluctuate, $500,000 in a couple months, like 1 month.
100%.
Yeah, that's a pretty big fluctuation. So we're able to handle that because we have enough systems to do that. But to go from 2 to 6 million requires us hiring a substantial amount more, writers, freelancers. From us, like a major driver is our managed service, and we have people that are not actually they're not actually doing the production; they're just doing the client management of that. So scaling up those people, like finding, getting those people, getting them in, and getting them trained, I think is probably the biggest issue. Not that we have a huge pipeline of people that want to work here. Our recruiting is super strong, probably for lots of reasons, because we're cool, but we've also won we've also won best place to work here in Tampa. We just won a national award for best place to work. We won fastest growing company. So we have a lot of things going behind us. We have great benefits, things behind us that make people want to work for us. but actually getting them hired and on board and trained and whatever to be able to support our clients in the level of standards that we set is probably the biggest problem. We don't have any problems with the actual scalability of our systems. We had the biggest problem is the people. So yeah, man. That's what product owners are gonna. I mean, if you're doing a productized service, that's what you're gonna have to consider. Is like at some point you're gonna have to create better and better systems for hiring and scaling out whatever. Whether that's, you know, people that are working in your business or the actual people that are producing the products that you're doing. You're gonna have to get good systems for vetting them, bringing them on, training, onboarding, and getting them up to speed very quickly.
That makes a ton of sense. I think that's, with productized services, you're scaling people and leveraging technology. So once your systems are dialed, it's really, that's almost the X factor a little bit, with jumps that big. Awesome. What's been your favorite resource for running the Hoth?
Favorite resource
besides Calendly?
Oh my God, there's so many resources. I'll tell you one that I'm on to now that I think everybody has to get on like immediately. If you don't, probably everybody that's listening to this party has it, but there's this product called Loom, and it's like literally a screen recorder. You can just hit a button, and it records your screen, and you send. God, man, I use it 400 times a day. It's amazing because if you're ever trying to, you got to not do meetings. If you want to be productive, you got to get out of meetings. And if you need to call, if you want to interrupt somebody, like I mean, I don't like to be interrupted, so I shouldn't be interrupting other people, but I do want to send them something I don't want to type it out. So just hit a button and it records your screen. You go, dude, there's this thing I've been thinking about and I want you to fix this. And here's what I'm thinking about. Here's where it's at. And like, blah, blah, blah. Can you take a look at this? Boom, send it over. It's amazing. I use it all the time. It's fantastic. So Loom, it's great. You should definitely use
that's
it.
A great resource. Yeah, I love Loom. I've been using it.
Yeah.
It's just so great. I mean, just makes things so easy, especially like you probably use it with like your dev guys or whatever, but like anything like design, feedback, anything. Especially, it's so great to have that visual aspect.
We use Loom all the time. We use Asana as project management. We use Slack as the way to kill all productivity in our business.
Dude, I feel the same way.
Dude, Slack's the worst, man. We use probably a ton of other stuff too, but those are the big ones, man.
I'll throw one at you that's interesting. There's this cool chat tool called Twist. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's supposed to be like the Slack killer. And dude, game changing. If you hate Slack, you're going to love Twist. And essentially because Slack is just so reactive, it's just distracting, but Twist like puts things in organized topics and channels and you can check it whenever, but there's still chat functionality. So that could be an interesting one to look at, but
you're gonna check that out after. I have to say, like, man, to be honest, like I could blame Slack. It's not Slack's fault. It's like, the way you use Slack, and the way it becomes once you grow a big business is real difficult. Because now instead of having one inbox, you got 30. So you got all these channels. You got to just constantly check. So
40 employees, everyone's in Slack. It's just like pinging you.
Oh my God, dude. It's like, okay, dude, seriously, at some point we got to talk about productivity because productivity is so important. And like distraction is the number one killer of productivity. And Slack is like a distraction machine. If you wanted to build a productivity killer, it'd be Slack because it allows anyone to ping you at any portion of the day. Every time I'm on like a call with somebody, all I see is like, we're sharing the screen. All I see their screen is like, bam, comes over on that side. That somebody messaged, tuck, 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 tuck. I'm like, dude, turn it off. Does this happen to you? Everything I have is muted. Everything is muted. Like I don't receive any phone calls. I don't receive any Slacks. Like all my channels are muted. Even though I still have Slack, everything's muted. Yeah. So I don't get and I have this like do not disturb on my computer. Like you go on that side and you got a Mac. You can turn it on that do not disturb. Everything's do not disturb. So whenever I see people, and I can barely concentrate even without any of that stuff. And so when I see people that I know have not put in this enormous amount of effort into productivity like I have, and I see that just, I'm like, dude, this is just destroying everyone's
Dude,
productivity.
100%.
Dude, just destruction. So
you got it. What's been your, because I know you've definitely worked quite a bit, invested a lot into like personal development.
Yeah.
Productivity was one. Like,
Yeah.
what's some of your kind of top productivity things that people should think about when they're building a service business?
Dude, this is one of my favorite. It gets me so hyped up to think about this, man. I love productivity. When you think about productivity, a lot of people get a little bit scared because you're like, fuck, I don't want to have to do more stuff. And that's like the biggest misconception about productivity. It's not about doing more stuff. It's not trying to jam more shit into your day. That'd be horrible. Yeah. You just want to burn out. It's about, progressively moving towards a goal. And so the first thing that I do, and I do this consistently, this is a massive breakthrough for me, but I still practice this to this day, is just eliminate everything. Like literally go through your Gmail and unsubscribe from every list, even the ones that you like, aggressively, unsubscribe from everything. On your phone, delete apps, turn off every single notification.
Yep.
I know you're still going to find some way to check Instagram, but let me make a suggestion. Go in there and just every day unfollow a couple people that you don't really like. Same thing with Facebook. Go in there every day and unfollow a couple people you don't like. All right? Just little by little.
That's why you're not following me on Instagram anymore. What happened?
Probably. Yeah, man. All right. And then any news sources that you have, cut those out. Let's see. On your computer, anything that's pinging you, turn on do not disturb. Phone calls, like everything, just eliminate anything. You go out through your day, something distracts you, find a way to not get distracted by that thing. Get it out. And this will create massive, like enormous swaths of time in your day. Dude. So now your brain isn't just jumbled with all this mess all the time, right?
Dude, I love that.
It's a beautiful thing. All right, so once you got that, you're going to be living a totally different life. So now you can actually start, getting clarity on, all right, where do we want to go? And then what are the steps to get there? And then because you have all this time where you're not distracted, you can actually put on your calendar when I'm going to do these things. This is kind of my thing I've been preaching for like a while. It's like to accomplish anything, you need those 3 steps, right? You need to know exactly where you're going to go. Like, what do you actually want? Where's the finite end? Not like, hey, man, I want to be better. Like, you can't, like, you're never going to get better. Like, you have to be like, all right, I want to be able to bench press, I don't know, whatever. I want to be able to bench press 100 pounds. One day I'll get there.
I thought you were there, man.
Dude, I can bench press 100 pounds. But let's say you've never bench pressed before. Like you can't say I want to be bench press better. You got to be like, I want to bench press 100 pounds. Okay, great. All right. Yep. That's my goal. Now, what are the steps to get there? Well, I need to go to the gym consistently. So I need to go there probably for 3 months. Let's say I need to go there three times a week for 3 months. Okay, cool. All right. Now that I know that, I need to work on my form, and then I need the time to do that. So you got the goal, you got the steps, and then the third thing is the time. When am I actually going to go to the gym? And a lot of times when people look at their calendars, they realize they don't really have that much time. You have a life.
Dude.
I mean, now in coronavirus, you got all the time in the world, and you can't go to the gym. So this is a double bad analogy. But for the sake of people that are listening to this in another time, when life is not crazy, you got to put time on your calendar. When are you actually going to go? And then once you can do that, man, everything starts changing because now you're not distracted. Now you know what to do. You don't wake up every day going like, oh man, I don't know what to do. Maybe I should read a couple more blog articles. You just got the plan, and you just take that time. When the clock hits that time, you go do those things, and you just keep doing them. And you find yourself
like that
you actually accomplish your goal. And once I've kind of figured out this very, 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 very obvious and simple thing, almost everything else started taking off. So I love it.
I love it, man. That's super smart. I remember when you started doing that, and I've stolen from afar a couple of those ideas, and dude, 100% works.
Yeah, I would like to think I'm a genius, but it seems pretty obvious, right? Like to get where you want to go, you got to know where to get. You got to know where you're going, and then you got to know how to get there, and then you got to go there.
And cut out all the distractions and just focus on that one thing. 100%.
Yeah.
Man, dude, this was great. I might have to circle up for part 2 personal development series.
Oh man, I would definitely get into that one, man. I got some deep things to think about. To be honest, for everybody that is listening to this, if you're trying to build a business, man, I think you really got to take 50% of your time and focus on like the tactics, and the strategies and building the business and your skills. And then you have to take another 50% of your time and invest it in developing your personal development, your mindset, your mentality, how you think about the world, because literally it's going to be impossible without that rock solid foundation. As an entrepreneur, you're going to go through these roller coasters. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows, and you got to know when you hit your highs that, man, you still got to keep grinding. But when you hit the lows, you're like, hey man, I'm going to be able to come out of this, So that's what I suggest, man. If I'm reading books, like in a more practical sense, and if I'm reading books, I read like one strategy one or one marketing book. And then the next book will almost always be some kind of mindset book, whether that's leadership, management, personal development, Eckhart Tolle, whatever it is, man.
Nice.
Gotta do like a little 50-50.
What's, as we close out, little cherry on top, what's your go-to book for people specifically who are building a productized service? What should they read?
This podcast, I think.
Now,
I remember there's a couple early on. I already mentioned the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Then I read a book called Built to Sell, and those were pretty similar. But past that, I'm not sure if I read too many more productized service books or books that really talk that much about systems or ops. I mean, you can do a lot with just those two. As far as I can remember,
yeah. Built to Sell is he mentions in there, I think, in a couple chapters, productizing, but it was early days. But that one's a great one, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I love it, man.
Out there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, what's the best place for people to find you, follow you, so you can unfollow them on Instagram?
Yeah, don't try to add me on Facebook. I'll never add you because I'm trying to get rid of distractions, unless you're cool. But you can find me at The Hoth, man, at thehoth.com, or you can email me, Clayton at thehoth. I'd love to hear if anybody's listening to this podcast, what you think, or if I can help you in any way, man. That's where you reach me.
Dude, man, thanks so much for coming on, and we'll circle back soon.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. All right. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you found the content valuable, here are 2 ways that I can help you actually completely free to grow and scale your service business. Number 1, just head over to productized.services, and you'll be able to subscribe to our free weekly strategy newsletter. And number 2, get my productized playbook over at productizedplaybook.com. And this playbook is actually directly pulled from our recent Design to Exit course, one of the 5 playbooks. And we're giving away that for free, where you get access to kind of see a full breakdown of essentially, how we think about productizing services, etc. So definitely head over to productizedplaybook.com.